everyone. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for your patience. My first video on this channel was a long time ago, and since then I've gone through a lot of necessary and powerful changes. So I stepped back from it a bit, having begun, and it's really nice to be back here to start this channel properly. So it seems like there are a lot of people in the collective right now that are experiencing a sense of instability, a sense of uncertainty, and even possibly some sense of the crumbling of certain things in your life, destruction in certain things in your life that might make you feel less stable, less secure, less well-resourced, or less sure about your work, your income, your resources, your connections. And it's really a bit of a rattling that's happening. It's a bit of a rumbling that's going on. We are having things brought to the surface that require our attention. And some of these things can be quite disruptive, can be quite painful. Certainly there is a lot that's surfacing right now around, money. But beyond money, our sort of sense of ourself in the world, our sense of being able to be in the world at the fullness of our capacity, being able to make choices, make decisions, operate from a place of autonomy. So any areas where you're feeling like a lot of shake-up in your life, and it might just be as simple as, I say as simple as, certain emotions, certain experiences, triggering trauma, like all of these things can be rising up in us at the moment. We're really being shown any places within ourselves that we are resisting our own power. And it's gotten to a point in the energies right now at the moment where I think for a lot of people this is coming through in ways that feel quite difficult sometimes. And the reason is partly because of the root of this being our power, our empowerment, our sense of strength in ourselves, and our sense again of this idea of our autonomy. To be able to make our own choices, to be able to live life our own way, to be able to do things in a way that makes sense to us, to be able to do things in a way that feels connective and alive and real for us. So where you might be facing difficulties or things kind of falling out of your life or dropping out of the path in front of you right now, any of these things are either being removed from our life because they are not supportive of us in our wholeness, in our full self, in our full power, or more likely they are things that are coming to our attention so that we can make that choice, for ourselves. Interestingly, as this has been going on, a lot of you might have been having the chance to actually experience support, abundance, in different ways from different places over the last week or so, over the last few days. So despite the fact that for many of us there might be shake-ups around our finances or shake-ups around our sense of our authority in the world, there has been an opportunity to kind of show us, there has been an effort from Spirit to show us the places that we are well supported, the places that we are held, the places that we are already feeling our oneness, our sense of connection with the earth, with the universe, with being a part of a greater whole. And it might be that if there's some areas where we have felt that we are lacking in support, our attention has been brought to other places in our life where that feels a bit more abundant, a bit more clear. So if you're feeling that your finances are a little bit shaky, you might have experienced over the last week good friends around you, or a different sense of support in your friendships or your relationships. This has really just been about bringing our attention at the same time that it's being brought to the things, these systems, the structures and the patterns that are needing to crumble. We're also being reminded that perhaps the thing that we feel that we're losing, we are not losing. And the thing that we feel that we lack, we actually have in other areas, in other ways. And as we kind of tune into that more, it becomes easier, it becomes much more accessible to us to kind of start to open up that feeling in other areas too. A lot of the difficulty right now is that you might be focused on the burden. Whether this is kind of juggling and struggling a little bit financially, or whether this is kind of juggling in your relationships or even in your sense of self right now at this moment, it feels like you have a lot to carry. And again, when we're experiencing trigger responses or trauma responses or unresolved emotion or not fully resolved emotions that are coming up for us, that often brings with it this weight of responsibility, the responsibility of what's ours to hold, the responsibility of what's not ours to hold. And again, that sense of autonomy and decisiveness about what we are ready to give back to others or to say no thank you, and what we feel is kind of integral to our core values, integral to the way that our life is unfolding, something that is ours to carry because it is our personal responsibility. Our responses, our reactions, our sense of perspective, as well as obviously more literal things, whether that's kind of workload or an overburdened sense of responsibility with keeping certain relationships going. So beautiful because I mentioned kind of connections with friends. There's much more of that to come, and this card, Three of Cups here, has been coming up a lot recently. This is really a time where, because a lot of the stuff that we're going through at the moment and a lot of the stuff that we're releasing is quite deep, quite difficult, this is kind of foundational stuff that's potentially stopping us from moving in the directions that we want to be moving in, and certainly lessons that are being completed, closed out, energies that are being healed and released. Because that energy, although it's really beautiful and really expansive, it can be really tough. Now is a really good time to be aware of the relationships that you do have around you that feel supportive, especially the friendships where you feel like you can be yourself without thinking about it. Like, these are the places to spend a bit of time, chat to people who fully love and accept you, chat to people, spend time with people where you feel fully affirmed for being yourself, where you don't feel that you have to perform, where you don't feel that you have to pretend. Because there are certain elements to these kind of energetic patterns and structures which are being rattled right now, which are being brought to the forefront right now, which can really lead us into a place of questioning. Especially, again, if we're reliving or finding the resurfacing of traumatic experiences or difficult past emotional experiences. Any places where we can really be and feel that space is held, and where we can laugh and where we can connect without mental effort, without pretense, are really healing spaces for us right now, because they will support that transition that everybody in the collective is actually experiencing right now. Is a massive sense of transition, a massive sense of closing out one cycle and moving into another. There may be some kind of concerns and fear amongst some of you that you're not being given the correct information, or that you don't have the answer to a particular question. You don't really necessarily know which way to go forward. It might be that with these experiences that are being closed out, or these kind of things that might be being shaken up and lost in life right now, that you don't necessarily feel like you have a clear direction, which things to take forward, which things to put down, what means what. because of the nature of what's being released and because of the nature of the shake-up itself, we can feel very, very unclear sometimes right now. This is a lesson for your soul. It's not necessarily a lesson for your mind, in the sense that this is not about the need to figure out the answers. This is not about the need to have the correct answer all of the time. There is a lot of this right now which is just about being present, right? We're in Pisces season. It's about being present with our feelings. It's about allowing the unknown. It's about allowing the illogical, the magical, the indirect. And a lot of how these very deep transformations are happening is that they're kind of happening in some ways energetically, indirectly. We are learning in some ways, a lot of us, to take a bit of a break from letting the conscious mind, the brain, the egoic self be fully in charge. And we're being asked to trust a little bit deeper and to recognize that there are experiences that our soul calls to us. There are experiences that we even, it's not that we have to have them, but it's that where we are and where we want to go, in between where we are and where we want to go, there is an energetic barrier which is made up of our current limitations, right? And as we move through that energetic barrier, we're going to experience our perception of those limitations. And again, that's not necessarily like a mental checklist. It's felt, it's conditioned, it's very, very close within us. Sometimes it's very, very difficult to separate what is me and what is my conditioning, what is my personality, what is my true self. And these lessons right now are being governed and led at a soul level. So where there are things that we don't necessarily completely understand, or answers that we don't necessarily hold, we're really being asked to trust that if we can just be with ourselves, if we can just go with this, if we can be in the spirit of transformation and change, it's going to become clear. It's not completely random. You know, our life is not falling apart randomly if our life is falling apart. There is a sense of governance around this, and again we're being brought into places where that self-governance is not feeling fully accessible, right? Places where we might undercut ourselves, undermine ourselves, put ourselves in situations where we're not valued. And again, what's being brought forward with this shake-up is that sense of what is our responsibility, what parts of that are our responsibility to witness, to acknowledge, and what parts are for us to actually say, this is not my problem, this is not for me to deal with. We're really looking right now, this process is really putting us into a place where, although we know that we are guided, although we know that there are energies that are kind of greater than us, that are moving through us, that are moving through the collective, there are kind of collective consciousness reckonings that are being brought forward, that are going on. And these are all felt obviously in very individual ways, in very personal ways by each person. There is a sense that what we're looking for right now and what we're aiming to find here is our own guidance, again, our own authority. So sometimes it can be really, really affirming and really, really important to kind of look for what is the guidance, what are the answers, and that has its place, right? But actually what we're trying to experience and discover, what our soul is trying to experience and discover right now, is what feels right to me. What feels really right to me. And it doesn't matter whether it doesn't feel right to other people, and it doesn't matter whether other people don't understand or don't agree. There is this recognition of this need to, if you are somebody who seeks a lot of reassurance from external sources, from the people around you, from books online, whatever it might be, beyond kind of learning and being open to explore, if you're really seeking that external validation on the moves that you should make, the choices that you should make, that in itself will be being brought into question. So you may even experience that the people who might normally be there to help you are not, or that the reassurances of people are not landing with you, or that the advice that you're taking is not going well. It's really all just bringing you back to, you are the authority in your life. You are the authority. And we're sinking more and more deeply into our own power. And again, especially with Pisces season, that doesn't necessarily mean the power of our personality, the power of our ego, the personality of consciously what we think should, how we think things should happen, how we think things should unfold. This is allowing our whole self to come to play. This is allowing our whole self to kind of be reacquainted and reconnected, both the conscious and the subconscious, the conscious and the unconscious, the known and the unknowable, and understand that every part of us, everything within us is working towards the same goals, right? Our own actualization, integration, peace, healing, contentment, whatever it is that we're looking to find, whatever it is that we're kind of experiencing as we find ourselves again, find ourselves on the other side of the structures that have been created for us and by us within this society that we live in, within the society that we've kind of grown up in and absorbed. There's not going to be any shortage of options. And this card has actually been coming up a lot lately as well. It's the Seven of Cups. There are options coming. There are a lot of options, a lot of opportunities. And again, kind of coming back to this sense of not necessarily knowing the correct answer or not necessarily knowing the way to go. If that's kind of being paired up with feeling like certain pathways are being blocked, or that we can't do certain things that we feel that we should be able to do, on either side of that, we have this kind of recognition that we're refinding the places where we naturally connect. We're refinding the people that do feel supportive to us. We're refinding the parts of ourselves that feel easy and natural, and that we don't have to think about, that we don't have to take any kind of control over at all whatsoever. And that's also part of this reconnection between the conscious and the subconscious, is a bit relinquishing control. Whatever position we're in right now, as we kind of look at what's my burden, what's my responsibility and what's not, especially as we start to consciously put things down that we are not willing to carry forward with us anymore, there are going to be new opportunities coming forward. There are going to be new offers on the table. And the invitation is really to try to respond to those offers and those options and those opportunities from this place of our own sense of our inner guidance, right? From this space of, I'm going to do what feels good and what feels right to me, even if other people don't understand. I'm going to go with the options and the opportunities that light me up, that feel right, even if I can't intellectually articulate why that is. And I'm going to recognize that for every offer I take and for every offer I turn down, there's going to be something else coming along, right? So we can be discerning in a different kind of a way. We don't need to jump on every single offer thinking it's the only offer coming. And we also don't have to be afraid to take the offers and the opportunities that feel like they sit well with us, even if we can't see where the whole entire road is leading us. So yeah, we're quite in the unknown right now, in the shake-up. And again, this is bringing really, really important lessons to completion, to fruition in a lot of ways. This is a sort of an endpoint to things that you might have been carrying for a long time. Just going to pull some advice for everybody. Okay, this time is really about balancing our energy, right? Again, we're going to have our feelers out a little bit for what is mine and what is not mine to take on, what is mine to hold, and what am I gonna return to sender. Balancing our energy, work and play, rest, adventure, love, relationships, friendships, hobbies, whatever we might have as kind of various aspects of our life. We want to make sure that we're keeping our energies as balanced as possible, and that we're being conscious about where we're channeling our energy into in our lives just right now at this moment. And because that can be perhaps one of the things that it might be more easy to be conscious around when there is a lot unknown and there is a lot that we, again, might intellectually not feel like we fully understand at this moment, being able to keep our energy balanced, being able to be clear about what we are pouring our energy into and what we decide that we don't want to pour our energy into is a really good way to check in, drop in with our soul, with our solar plexus, with our inner fire. Even if it doesn't feel massively lit and ignited at the moment, there is this sensing into ourselves, sensing into the soul, sensing into the body, asking the body questions even, right? In that kind of manner of connecting with our subconscious too. Even though there might be things coming up at the moment that might be difficult, challenging, even potentially triggering, the best advice right now is to try not to take things too personally. Right, this is a greater energy that's playing out, and it will be playing out in your life in a personal way. Obviously, you want to acknowledge whatever it is that you're feeling, acknowledge what it is that's coming up. But we just want to be careful about jumping into defensive mode, jumping into these places where we feel attacked, unsafe, undermined. There are energies of being, unsupported, not rooted for, thinking that people might be against you. I'm not saying whether that is or isn't true, but that energy that it puts us into, or it is going to be in a lot of ways part of the conditioned response that is coming up to be examined. You might find yourself with narratives of, I'm the only one that will take care of me. It's me against the world. Nobody wants what's right for me. No one wants what's best for me. It's not safe for me to be successful. It's not safe for me to be seen. These are narratives and feelings and beliefs that are being brought to our attention in some ways in a very challenging manner at the moment. And just being aware of our defensiveness and our kind of, especially if we feel ourselves going into a sort of fight and flight response, it's just worth giving yourself a moment, breathing, noticing that framing, noticing what beliefs you're bringing about the world, and really trying to release worry. It's easier said than done, I know, depending on the manner of what's kind of unfolding for you right now. Again, this will be different for everybody because this is a collective reading. This might be kind of anxieties that are coming up. This might be things that are going on in your external reality. This might be a combination of all of those things. Again, past experiences. Definitely this stuff is around patterning. So we really want, in this sense of balancing our energy, again, this is about making conscious choices whilst we work with the unconscious and the unknown, right? So we're making conscious choices in alignment with ourselves as best we can, as we can feel that in. That can be the intention. And making a conscious effort to notice when we get defensive, when we get our back up, and notice when we're going into spaces of worry, repetitive thought, worst case scenario, anxiety. These are things that are inherently part of the patterns that are being brought up right now. And again, we're having some quite deep stuff being pulled up from the subconscious. So it might be things that you feel like you've dealt with already. It might be things that are kind of coming back or returning. Or it might be new, deeper connections that you're making with a certain pattern that you've already kind of acknowledged in the past. Whatever it is, remember that you are being shown the areas and the places in your life where you do already have access to abundance, protection, support, peace, where you can be yourself, where you can be expressed, where you can be accepted, where you can be loved, where you are already loved. These places are being shown to you, as well as the places that you are ready to release, let go of, acknowledge, grieve, and move on from. So this is again why it's a kind of a sense of balancing our energies right now, because we're kind of experiencing both. Meditation is really, really good around this time. Anything that kind of de-stresses you, lets you kind of release some of these worries, and certainly noticing if we are falling into habitual thought patterns. That's something that's going to be coming up potentially for quite a lot of people at the moment, and just worth recognizing. Again, this is a soul-led journey. This is a soul-initiated lesson. So however you can get yourself into alignment with that trust, and again, most fundamentally right now, it's a trust in yourself, and a trust in the parts of you that are subconscious, a trust in the parts of you that keep your whole entire body running without you having to think about it. That space, that part of you that holds this patterning, that holds these structures. The shake-up right now is actually bringing the conscious and the subconscious mind into closer proximity. And there are ways that might feel challenging, but there are also ways that we are being shown that we are loved in ways we may not acknowledge, that we are supported in ways we may not acknowledge, and that we have spaces where we can be free right now, as we are. All we're doing really at this moment is opening up that channel between the conscious and the subconscious mind, and allowing ourselves to release the things that are no longer serving us. And if we need to take a little bit of time at the moment just to really rest, really ground, really notice when we're in spaces of anxiety, do what we can to relax ourselves, do what we can to connect in ways that feel good, that's going to be really, really helpful as we traverse this. And it will, this is all unfolding for our highest good. Like, there is nothing that's being taken from us right now or being blocked from us because we shouldn't have it or can't have it, or we're not allowed it, or we don't deserve it. Anything that's coming up around that is part of the patterning that's coming up to be observed. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. There's definitely going to be more videos to come on this channel, and I hope you're all okay in this time of deep change and transition. Wishing you all a really beautiful week. Bye.